This is disruption too. What can NGOs do with social media? Here's what I see. There is much effort going in informing people outside about the work being done. For instance, Care India, a not-for-profit on whose board I serve as director, gives you feeds on job openings, empowering women and girls, gender equality, and information about its activities. In Kashmir floods, for instance, the Care India handle was very active in informing what they are doing, where, what sort of food distribution is happening, what kind of hygiene distribution is happening, medical aid, and so on. The Financial Planning Standards Board India, where I served 3 terms as director and 1 as vice chairman, talks to students of the wider fraternity about jobs in financial planning, exams, tips, and so on. Likewise, I see how HelpAge India, which creates conversations among senior citizens facing isolation, poverty, and neglect. Or you could look at the IFMR Trust, a delightful case study of advocacy that every individual and every enterprise gets complete access to finance, to financial services. As an outsider, observer, and analyst, I can only record what comes within my domain of work or interest. Each of you sitting here would know dozens more such examples, and I hope will enrich the discussion during the day. Broadly, there are 5 things that I see NGOs doing on social media. 1, listening to supporters, sharing views. 2, driving traffic to their websites for deeper engagement. 3, transforming supporters into ambassadors. 4, carting grassroots information to wider audiences. And 5, strengthening relationships through collaborations. So if there is a particular issue that 3 or more NGOs are working on, through collaboration, they magnify their efforts. But what I also note is that social media has become an activity that's restricted to a department, and within that, a sub-department of the marketing or communications function. Often, it is outsourced to a specialist who may or may not be in tune with the organization's core philosophy. I believe social media is an extension of the commitment that each and every one of you in this room and outside carries in their hearts. As an expert can't deliver the same message as an on-ground worker. In one of the events on human resources I was moderating 2 years ago, the then chairman of HCL Technologies, Vineet Nayyar, said, HR is not the business of HR. HR is everybody's business. I believe this idea stands particularly for social media in NGOs. Social media is an extension of yourselves, your ideals, your change agency, your passion, your struggles. It can't be relegated to a department. For an NGO, social media is everybody's business. Of course, there needs to be broad guidelines that define its execution. For instance, everybody can't be a spokesperson for the organization. Hence, you need to be careful about what you say on social media. Your very affiliation to an organization itself can be misconstrued as the organization's voice. And then there are vicious vested interests. Allow me a small meander. I'll return to my book, The Disruptor. It hit the stands in April 2014, earlier this year. This was in the middle of April. I joined Reliance Industries in late April. These 2 singular and unrelated pieces of information were enough for the Aam Aadmi Party workers on social media to launch vicious attacks on me. It doesn't matter that my book examined and analyzed their work, critiqued it, appreciated it. It didn't matter that I wrote a balanced book, or as any other journalist or author would. Just stringing together the timing of a week between the launch of the book and my joining Reliance was enough for them to unleash their vitriolic campaign against me. I stand where I was, I say to them, read my book. But that's a tedious thing for people in a hurry to gain power. For all of you, however, a little bit of tweaking and practice is all that we take for you to build and cross this bridge. So be careful. While social media is everybody's business, you need to be extremely careful in how you handle it, and you need to be prepared of what can come from it. There's another, more dangerous bridge you need to negotiate. By empowering citizens, you're on the right side of history. But the history of empowerment itself is littered with the resounding backlashes from the entrenched. The entitled. Mulayam Singh Yadav's recent outburst against providing free laptop computers to students because the party lost elections due to them is one such backlash. He claims that while his Samajwadi party provided the laptops, quote, Modi put his face and speeches in them. What he isn't saying is that Modi had a digital strategy in place, and once the gadgets were in the hands of voters, the BJP was there to speak to them, while the Samajwadi party wasn't. The upshot: empowerment cuts both ways, trickles down more easily than wealth. In fact, the trickle down of information and empowerment will precede and catalyze the trickle down of wealth. Digital inequality will end before income inequality. Then there is the issue of content. Many content creators feel that the knowledge they create is exclusive and must be protected. My view: unless you are writing a patentable code or are in the middle of a sensitive deal, there is nothing private anymore, anywhere. Any idea that you think of has already been thought of and executed. On the contrary, what you gain from sharing information with and through your network is far more valuable than hiding it. Social media thrives on ideas, and if your organization has a leadership in a particular domain, share it. If your domain expertise is empowerment, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by sharing it, expanding it, multiplying it, all of which are well served by social media. Today, we stand on the threshold of major numbers. And the numbers, they keep changing by the report. So my numbers will be based on certain reports. There could be plus minus here and there, and I'm sure you will have better access to them. The number of internet users is expected to cross the 300 million mark by December 2014, making India the world's third largest user base. By 2015, this could jump to 500 million. Not only is this the largest growth rate, but it will take India to the second highest number of users after China. While this will double its economic contribution from the internet in the next 3 years to 3.3% of GDP or $100 billion from 1.6 or $30 billion today, I'm keen to understand what this will do to India's empowerment agenda. Already, we are charting out a broadband strategy for rural areas. What will happen when it is up and running? What will it do to the information inequality? How will the internet regionalize to serve a multilingual diversity? While the answers to these questions are still a work in progress, in fact, I think the questions themselves are a work in progress. These statistics and their implications are not far. Remember, the mobile revolution happened just 5 years ago. Today, there are 924 million mobile phone users. That's 74% of India's population, or 3 out of 4 citizens. With m-commerce set to leapfrog over e-commerce, empowerment of citizens through a mobile phone can't lag too far behind. All NGOs have to do is to ride the infrastructure that the government is creating to deliver governance and help catalyze empowerment through it using social media tools. I'm talking about a future that has already happened. From digital inclusion to e-governance, the government is putting its might behind technology. As NGOs, all we need to do is tighten the nuts and bolts and think about ensuring that the grand promise of citizen well-being is delivered through empowerment. This is a ground shifting under our feet, a 21st century disruption staring us in the face. How we negotiate this disruption will have long-term ramifications for our country. I hope each and every professional present in this room participates in and expands the span of empowerment. On my part, I will continue to watch from the sidelines as a bystander. Thank you very much.
Gautam is now going to get a professorial, invitation to teach and tell people what to do. Thank you so much. It was quite comprehensive, much more than I had expected. So we are quickly going to move to invite Jessica Edwardson. Keep your questions ready. After that, we are going to get into the question and answer mode. Jessica Edwardson is the head of social media for the American Embassy. We must know that America still is the second largest internet users, second largest social media engagement, and so on and so forth. Sheerly because of population, we may overcome your number, but not in terms of percentage, I'm sure, for a long, long time. Because even if we are going to be the second or third, our 20%, 30% population will only be using that, 70, 80% still be out of it. But thank you very much for taking the invitation. And the dais is yours.